Man, you've really aged in these 10 years, huh? Huh? A single woman in her 40s? Geez, you're quite a sight, huh? My ex-husband sneered at me when we met again after a long time. This was the man who got his mistress pregnant and abandoned me, who was infertile 10 years ago without a second thought. I had hoped that with time, he might have become a slightly better person. However, it seems that a person's true nature doesn't change so easily. Even after 10 years, he still seems to consider me as less than him. Bringing up the past and continuously insulting me, I quickly decided to end the conversation and not interact with him again. The very next moment, I unexpectedly achieved my revenge against my ex-husband. My name is Maria Garcia, and I am 30 years old. I work at a publishing company, and despite being busy with work every day, I lead a fulfilling life. My husband's name is Tim, and he's 32 years old. We've been married for 3 years now, but we don't have any children yet. It's not that we don't want to, we just can't. At the start of our marriage, I wanted to have children right away. I've always loved children and wanted to experience childbirth and raising a child while I was still young. However, reality was harsh, and even after 3 years of marriage, there were no signs of us having children. In the first year, I didn't worry too much about it. I thought, we'll naturally get pregnant at some point. But as a year and a half passed, I started to feel anxious. There was no reason we couldn't conceive. We weren't using contraceptives. I clearly remember the feeling of my blood draining from my face when I realized this. What if it's my fault? What if I'm the one who's infertile? I feared that the value of me as a woman would vanish in an instant. In the end, I couldn't tell my husband how I felt and decided to go to a gynecologist. I was told that natural conception was impossible and had to undergo various tests. Some of these tests had to be done during my period, and some had to be done after it ended. As someone who was lacking knowledge about all this, the 2 months until the tests were over were really hard for me. I went to hear the results of the test with a prayer in my heart. As I rubbed my cold hands and headed to the examination room, the doctor said, "We've run a comprehensive examination, and we didn't find anything unusual about you, Miss Johnson." Huh, so you mean there's nothing wrong with me? Yes, we didn't find any specific cause. You have a body that can get pregnant without a problem. Then why can't I? At that point, a single possibility occurred to me. The doctor seemed to have the same thought and opened his mouth with a slightly grim expression. How about suggesting your husband get tested too? So you mean the infertility might be due to my husband, not me? That's correct. It's not well known, but about half of infertility cases are caused by the male partner. Half of them? When we hear about infertility, we tend to assume the woman is at fault. But that's not the case. As you can see, we didn't find any cause in you, Miss Johnson. So there's a possibility that the cause is my husband. Well, it's not low. In the end, we can't say anything unless we check. I had heard from the doctor, to which I could only listen silently. I had believed that in most cases infertility is caused by the female side, as the doctor said. I decided to have Tim, my husband, get tested as well. That evening, as soon as he came home from work, I broached the subject. Hey Tim, would you come with me to the women's clinic I've been going to on our next day off? Huh? Why do I have to go? Actually, today I got the results of the infertility test, and there was no problem with me. Huh? And? It's not about and. The doctor told me that in about half of infertility cases, the cause lies with the man. So, I opened my mouth to explain what I had heard from the doctor when Tim's expression hardened, and he let out a heavy sigh.
Are you suggesting that I'm the cause of our infertility?
No, I'm not suggesting, but the possibility isn't zero, so I want you to get tested.
Don't kid yourself. Me? Infertile? I'm a man. There's no way I could be the cause.
But the doctor said that the cause could be on the man's side too.
Don't take seriously everything some quack doctor says. No matter how you look at it, the cause is you, the woman. You're blaming me for us not being able to have a child when it's your fault.
Tim raised his voice and with great force threw a cushion at me. It hit my head, causing an unpleasant shock. Ouch!
I'm telling you, it's your fault, okay? Because you're making it sound like I'm the cause of our infertility.
I'm not. You're jumping to conclusions. I was just talking about the possibilities.
That's it. There's no such possibility. Don't blame me for not being able to have a child. I'll report this to my mother too, okay?
No, please don't. Aside from my father-in-law, my mother-in-law dotes on her only son and doesn't think well of me. I've always tried to keep our interactions to a minimum and avoid upsetting her. But despite that, my husband immediately contacted his mother, making it sound like I was the one in the wrong.
Hey, Mom, Mary's blaming me for being infertile. Normally, if there's a cause, it's the woman's problem, right? You think so too, right, Mom? It's seriously unbelievable. It pisses me off being blamed for it.
Speaking loudly on purpose so I could hear him, Tim conversed with my mother-in-law. Unable to bear his words, I could only retreat to my room. That day, Tim never apologized to me, and from the next day, he became even more cold towards me. It's been 1.5 years since we got married, and though we've been talking less compared to when we were newlyweds, it's the first time he's been so indifferent. Another 1.5 years has passed since then, and our relationship has not changed. Today, again, as he carries his breakfast to his mouth, he lazily opens his mouth.
Your breakfast is as tasteless as ever. How do you manage to make such awful food first thing in the morning?
But today I made your favorite, French toast.
I like delicious French toast. Who would willingly eat something this bad, huh?
Sorry if you don't like it. Feel free to leave it.
Huh? What? So you're telling me to go to work hungry?
Well, it's not like...
Okay then. Since I'm buying breakfast at the convenience store, you're paying for it, okay?
My husband got up abruptly and rather roughly pulled my wallet from my bag. He took a $50 bill from it and stuffed it into his pocket. Hold on a minute. $50 is too much.
Huh? You got something to say? I'm just tired of eating your awful food. Let's just say this is for this week's breakfast.
That was for my hair salon appointment this weekend.
It's crazy. You're infertile, so don't spend money on your own entertainment to improve your constitution. Do a little exercise, you idiot.
With a disdainful look, my husband left the living room. The moment I heard the door close, tears started to spill down from my eyes. Why do I have to suffer like this? A mixture of frustration and sadness overwhelmed me. Before I knew it, I had been crying in place for 30 minutes. Such were the days. Until one evening, when my husband came home from work. He was unusually cheerful. I wondered if something good had happened. As I was thinking that, my husband said to me with a beaming smile,
Mary, I'm divorcing you.
What? Divorce? What are you talking about?
I'm going to be a father.
Huh? Father? I don't understand what you're saying.
She's pregnant. We've decided to raise the child together. So, please, divorce me.
She's pregnant? I couldn't understand his outrageous remarks. The only thing I knew was that he had been cheating. No matter how much I thought about it, this fact wouldn't change. With teary eyes, I timidly asked my husband, Is that baby really yours, Tim?
Huh? What are you talking about? Do you still think I might be infertile?
But we've been married for 3 years and haven't been able to have a child. It's a fact that it's not my fault.
You're so stubborn. You're just jealous because you can't get pregnant, right? Too bad. You're the one who's infertile.
With that, he pushed me away and told me to leave. By the way, the apartment was in his name. If one of us had to leave, it had to be me. As I reluctantly packed my bags, he threw the pre-prepared divorce papers at me.
Infertile woman, get out. I'll wire you the alimony later.
I'll leave, even if you don't tell me to. But I never thought you could be such a horrible person.
Say whatever you want. I'm at the height of my happiness. Unlike you, I'm going to be a parent.
With a loud laugh, my husband left. The man in front of me was no longer the Tim I had loved. After leaving the apartment, I rented a place near my office for the time being. With the lease term, I found a new apartment and successfully moved in. Since I only bought the bare minimum, like clothes and underwear, it was physically challenging to work and furnish my new place at the same time. Still, the $30,000 alimony for my ex-husband and his mistress helped me start my new life without financial trouble. For the next 5 years, I immersed myself in my work to shake off my painful past. During that time, I was introduced to someone through a good friend at work. His name was John Thompson. John was 2 years younger than me, but had a friendly and generous personality. Like me, he had gone through a divorce, the cause of which seemed to be infidelity on the part of his ex-wife. Neither of us had children. We shared the exact same situation. Because of this, we were able to understand each other's pain. Eventually, our relationship turned romantic. After a year of dating, we happily became husband and wife. I now, Mary Thompson, became even more dedicated to my work. On weekends, my husband and I would go out, occasionally taking trips and savoring our second lease on life. And to my surprise, I discovered that I was pregnant on my 37th birthday. We had only been married for 6 months. The child we had wished for so much came to us easily. Tears welled up in his eyes, and he rejoiced from the bottom of his heart.
Mary, thank you so much. I'm incredibly happy.
I am also. I am so happy. I never thought I would become a mother.
It might be tough because of our age, but I'll support you with everything I have. Let's do this together.
Thank you, John. I'm really happy to become a parent with you. After that, just as he promised, John supported me throughout my pregnancy. He took over all the household chores that we used to share and did all the shopping. 7 months later, I gave birth to our daughter safely. It was the happiest moment of my life. Soon our daughter, Lisa, turned 3 and began to speak quite fluently. John was out for the day, so Lisa and I were out at the park. As I watched Lisa play in the sandbox, I heard a familiar voice.
Is that Mary?
What, Tim?
It is Mary. Wow, it's been a while.
The man standing there was my ex-husband, Tim, who had abandoned me. He grinned as he approached, peering into my face.
What are you doing here? Looking so down. Waiting to get hit on?
That's ridiculous. Please don't talk to me.
You've really aged in 10 years, haven't you?
What?
A 40-year-old single woman? Man, you look so miserable.
My ex-husband slapped his hands together and burst out laughing. In front of him, I felt like a blood vessel had burst. I had just become happy. Why did he have to appear now, of all times? After all, it's because of him that I went through so much pain. I can't forgive him. Today, I'm going to say everything that's on my mind. I stood up, unable to control the anger rising within me. The reason for all of this in the first place is you. Just as I was about to shout at him, my daughter tugged at my clothes and asked with a puzzled look,
Mommy, who is this man?
Ah, Lisa. Mom's friend.
Mom's friend. Hello.
At the sight of my daughter calling me Mom, Tim's eyes widened. He approached me hurriedly with a flustered look.
Hey, what's going on here? She just called you Mom.
That's right. This girl is Lisa, my daughter.
What? There's no way that's possible. You were infertile.
That's what I told you 10 years ago, didn't I? The problem wasn't with me. I had tests done to prove it.
So this child, she's really yours.
Yes, Lisa is undeniably my daughter, born of me.
No. It can't be. You were sterile.
Tim's face turned a sickly pale color, distorted in shock. As he took a step back, I posed a thought to him. Tell me, are you certain your children are your children?
What are you saying?
Have you ever confirmed it? At least I believe that you are the cause of our infertility.
Stop it. That's not true. There's no way. After all, I'm still raising a child with her.
Well, doesn't it just go to show? It's not who bears the child, but who raises them. If you're not bothered by it.
There's no way that child isn't my own. There's no way.
Serves you right, to be made a fool of by her cuckoldry. Why don't you suffer for a bit? Tim let out a strange yell and ran off somewhere crying. My daughter stared at me in confusion as I chuckled at his pathetic figure.
Mom, was that not a friend of yours?
No, he wasn't. But you know what? I'm very grateful to him.
Grateful? Why?
Because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have met you, Lisa.
Really? Then Lisa is also grateful.
That's right, Lisa. You are the treasure of me and your father. I opened my arms wide, hugging my daughter tightly as she leapt into them. I may have been a bit cruel to Tim, but honestly, I don't harbor much resentment towards him anymore. Thanks to his cheating, I was able to meet my beloved John and Lisa. It seems that Tim confronted his wife about their child afterwards. In the end, his wife confessed that she'd had relationships with multiple men at the time. Among them, she chose to marry Tim because he had a stable income. After a DNA test, it was revealed that Tim had no biological relation to the child. He also underwent an infertility test, and it turned out that he was infertile. In the end, Tim and his wife divorced. He was left completely despaired and developed a mistrust of people. He hasn't left his house since, with only his mother-in-law occasionally checking on him. He was also fired from his job, and there's still no prospect of finding a new one. As for me, my status at the company has risen, and I finally managed to secure a managerial position. My income has slightly increased, giving us more opportunities to go on family vacations. Every time I see the happy smiles of my daughter and husband, I can't help but feel my own happiness from the bottom of my heart. My decisions were never wrong. Only because of the hardships I faced can I now enjoy these blissful days. I won't look back at the past anymore. With my beloved daughter, my loving husband, let's move towards a bright future as a family of 3.